Have you ever wondered why major and minor scales sound different, and what is a major and a minor scale? Let's have a look. Let's just cover a few basics first. So hopefully we all know what pitch means. It just means high or low. So instruments that play high are flutes and piccolos. Instruments that play low, tubas and double basses. It's also good to make sure we all understand that there's only 7 letters in the musical alphabet, because that will help us later on. If we play them in order, we call it scale. Forwards obviously is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Backwards is a little harder to say, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So when we play the notes in order, they go up like a stairs. We call this an ascending scale. A complete scale always starts and finishes on the same note. And that distance from a low A to a top A, like we have in a scale, is called an octave. Octave meaning 8 tones or 8 notes. Likewise, if the alphabet is going backwards, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, like it is here, it's called a descending scale, and the pitch goes down. So that's the basics covered. Let's have a look at the minor scale. This is what it sounds like. And here is the C major scale, ascending and descending. I'll go a little faster this time. That one might be more familiar to you. Now both scales use exactly the same notes, but they sound very different. So why is that? Well, it's actually because the distance in pitch between each note is not the same. For example, the distance in pitch between D and E is actually larger than the distance in pitch between E and F. And that difference in pitch between two notes is called an interval. Now, because the intervals between notes are not all the same, if we start on different notes, then they are presented in a different order. Let's compare the intervals of the major and minor scales in more detail. So the first note in C major is C, and the first note in A minor is A. And the distance for both of those scales to the second note is the same. So at this point, you're not going to hear whether one of those scales is major or minor. We don't hear that until we get to the third note. And you can see here that the distance that we've travelled from B to C is smaller than the distance we've travelled in pitch from D to E. It's the same with the next interval, they are different. And then from the fourth to the fifth note, the intervals are the same. Then to the sixth note, they're different. To the seventh note, they are the same. And then to the eighth note, or the octave, they are different again. The distance between B and C and E and F is always smaller than the other intervals. This is called a semitone. So when you change the starting note, the tonic, we also change the order that the intervals come in. And it's actually the order of the intervals between the notes which give the scale its major or minor sound, not hearing the notes themselves. This is why understanding intervals is so important. I teach a lot of theory, and I find my pupils get very confused about intervals. They find them very difficult. But actually they're not hard. It just takes a little bit of work and some patience. But understanding them is important. If you can learn the order of the intervals for a major scale, it will help you to sing them or to play them on your instrument. So the order of the intervals for a major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And likewise, the order for a minor scale is always tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. There are a couple of exceptions when it comes to minor scales, because with minor scales we can change the sound of them by altering some of the intervals. We call these altered scales. The two minor scales I'm referring to are harmonic and melodic, but for the purposes of this video I don't need to explain those. So this is the natural minor scale before it's been altered to make a harmonic or melodic minor. Now, because C major and A minor are using exactly the same notes, just starting on a different note, they're called relatives. So A minor is the relative minor of C major, and C major is the relative major of A minor. I do hope you've learnt something from this video.